They have to wait, but off they go now. You can hear the strains, you can hear the power, and you can see the pace with these eights getting a clean start, and steering away from Temple Island cleanly is so important, such a priority in the eights to get this Temple Island right, as it is with all the boats, but it's a fabulous sight, isn't it? Seeing the eights going away from Temple Island.
It's a fabulous sight, and it's a fabulous sound as well. You really get that, especially with schoolboys. There's kind of this whole yeah, and then there's that silence. You saw the number 7 man at the Windsor Boys School doing some deep breaths in there just to make sure that his lungs were primed for this piece, because you're going to go anaerobic here. And they knew they were up against St Paul's. Bobby Thatcher's crew, winners in 2018 of this event. They were finalists last year. We always know St Paul's have good pedigree in this event. They target the Princess Elizabeth. Windsor Boys School target the Fawley. So these will be their second men, if you like, from the 5th to the 13th man in their school, whereas St Paul's, this is the boat that they target.
The Windsor Boys School are going to need to give it some gas, aren't they? Because they are in danger of losing contention early with St Paul's School, losing touch with them.
Yeah, they've only met in this event once before in 2016. On that occasion, it was St Paul's who beat Windsor Boys School by 4.5 lengths. And as I say, St Paul's had such pedigree in this event. In this century, we've seen them in finals in 2002, in 2015 where they won, 2016, 2018 where they won, and last year they were also in the final. Windsor Boys School, as I said, we've had champions in the Fawley Cup here, but this is almost a new foray for the school into this event. 5 entries in the regatta.
Yes, last year's finalists, St Paul's, as you mentioned, beaten by Eton by a length and a quarter in 6 minutes and 40. I reckon this will be longer than 6 minutes and 40 today. If they get down in 6:40, give themselves a pat on the back in these conditions.
I think, yeah, if we're starting to look at that, we will be pricking up our ears or our eyes, because we'll have a very fast crew on our hands. It's not the fastest conditions, and I suspect we'll see the St Paul's crew manage their way through this race and the regatta. And they, as I said, they are the top crew from their school. We're expecting them to be one of the fastest crews in the event.
So St Paul's School stroking at 33. Boat speed 17.2 kilometres an hour. I love the data. This is great to get a bit of data on the screen to really get a feel for the performance.
And you know, when we talk of data, the 5-man in the St Paul's Cruise needs a shout out. He broke the J14 world record on the Ergo a year ago. Albuquerque, he did 6:13.3 back in February of this year, and he's the youngest competitor I think that St Paul's have ever put in this first boat. So 15 years old, he's sitting there amongst another 16-year-old in Felix Peerless, but most of his crews are 17 or 18-year-old amongst them. What an amazing way to develop and learn from those who've been in finals before. You get slot in as a 15-year-old. He is definitely one to watch.
So focus on St Paul's School there. Pedigree in the event. The Windsor Boys School training them at the minute.
I always love watching a Bobby Thatcher train crew. Bobby Thatcher racing the squad at the same time as me. He was one of the men when I joined the squad used to look up to, because he had such good technique himself. Didn't quite make the Sydney 8, but won gold. He was the spare, I think, for that boat, or the last man not in for that boat, which I know he found incredibly tough. But he has moved his rowing finesse into coaching finesse, and you just watch it, you can just see how well he picks up his men, pick up the water and move. Just looks smooth, looks together, looks like they just have been well drilled.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned the setback in a rowing career that was otherwise very successful, the Olympic selection. So often characters like that are the ones who make the best coaches, aren't they? In a few years they can draw on those tough experiences and perhaps are better coaches for it than those who have breezed through very successful careers without any setbacks.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think it makes you realise what the athletes are going through. you've had selection days that are your best days of your life and had selection days that are your worst days of your life, and you have the empathy for the men or women you're coaching at that point.
So the Windsor Boys School nearest to the camera. William Creffield Cox, who's only 15 years old. He's the youngest in the boat. Barnes, Brown, Griffin, Sadler, Kruter, Harlow, KF and Taraga in 70. Pedro Taraga, he's the one whose lungs you were analysing back at the start, Sarah. You were hearing the grunts and you were enjoying the strains and the demonstration of power. After you shoot, I want to mention the strokes.
Yes, definitely priming the lungs is something that we didn't do back in the day, but if I'd known about it, I would have done it. So really getting in those deep breaths at that start in those last seconds before the umpire's saying go. So you've got oxygen in your lungs as much as possible, ready for that anaerobic start. It makes complete sense physiologically.
Windsor Boys just having a couple of issues with the steer. You can see the wind there. Look at the flags in the background of the picture. Being buffeted around by the wind, and that does make it more difficult for the Windsor Boys School, who at the moment are trying to get back in contention. They're trying to force an error from St Paul's School. It doesn't look like coming, because St Paul's look incredible, so nonchalant. They could be just there for a Sunday morning paddle, couldn't they? Just a training piece. They're dropping the rate right down.
Yeah, you can see there Coxon there just glancing over his shoulder, just double checking as he's calling it down, making sure he makes no mistake. He knows the Windsor Boys will race this out. They are another young crew against them, and he knows that they want to have the experience, they want to go through to the next stage of the regatta. He will ensure that his men stay ahead.
Here comes St Paul's School then, in front of stewards, not wasting any extra energy. Paddling over the finish line. Light ripples of applause for them.
This crew won at the Junior 8s at Wallingford in the Met Regatta, and they started their campaign well here, Tim, at Henley.
Over the line, St Paul's School safely through in the Princess Elizabeth Challenge Cup, beating the Windsor Boys School. Green, yellow, black with the white hats of Windsor Boys School over the line now.